Good morning. Hi, sewing friends. This is Larilyn with House of a Coty Design. Welcome back to the channel today and welcome to my second episode of Friday Sews. Thanks again to at Zelda Sews for giving me the invitation to join this group today to discuss my sewing plans for the upcoming week, the things that I've worked on, and just a little chit chat of everything that's going on with Larilyn. So as you guys know, as I mentioned last week on my first participation with Friday Sews, I will be undergoing hip surgery fairly soon. So I'm just working on several loungewear pieces, garments and things I'd like to share that I will be wearing to look cute and comfy during this recovery process. So what I have behind me here today, guys, it's my Bernette 79. It's my backup sewing machine, one of my backup machines. My Bernina has to go out for servicing. And if you noticed when I was making the t-shirt, long sleeve tee earlier in the week, some of that fabric was actually caught within the throat plate. So word of advice with any machine, especially the higher dollar machines, you want to make sure you're using your correct throat plate, not yanking at the fabric, because even though it's happened to me before where I would get those bird nests underneath the throat plate with the Bernina machine, I could easily just kind of pick it apart using my seam ripper, using a long, maybe like a 1.5, 2-inch ballpoint needle, anything that was real slender and sharp, just to wiggle the thread away, and it actually worked. However, I was snagging a little bit too hard at a piece of the jersey that was left and caught underneath the throat plate, and it accidentally chipped the feed dog, one of the feed dogs. So it was time for servicing anyway, and I'll take that in, and luckily it's just a nominal part to get that fixed, so thank goodness for that. So my backup Bernette 79, I've had this one for probably a good 4 years or so. So I haven't used it, in a bit, because I've been exclusively kind of sewing with that Bernina. So what I have to do is oil it, test things out, make sure I clean all that oil out before I run fabric through it. So you can kind of watch me as I do this morning. So one thing that's important, guys, is make sure that you hold on to your manuals. So for every sewing machine that I have, even my vintage Singers that I've collected, I hold on to my manual. I put them in little binders like this, and usually keep my receipt of purchase, any warranty information. And on this page here of the Bernette 79, I just follow where it says oiling the needle bar. And it's really important because, I found over the years that not every machine requires the same amount of oiling. The Juki, I rarely have to oil it. I mean, the industrial, it takes a ton of oil, but it's a drip pan, so it just oils itself once it's loaded. But with the domestic Juki that I use, it doesn't require a lot of oil, and maybe that's just how it's manufactured. But the Berninas are extremely thirsty, at least the 7 series that I have, and that's been my experience hearing from others as well. And this one, the manual says you oil it if it's frequently used at least every 6 months. Some people say oil it more. But with the 7 series Bernina, the manufacturers and a lot of people in the sewing community recommend you sew it every time you sit at it, or just listen, to the sound. And it does definitely change sounds. This one does too. So if you can kind of see here, this is the needle bar that's moving in the inside here. That's your needle bar. So basically the book says to just take a drop of oil right here, right at the tip, right at the center of your needle bar, and also a little bit at the bottom. And then once you've kind of done that, let me put this top back on here. Once you've done that, you go in and you just basically turn your hand wheel a few times, and then go in and remove that presser feet. I love these, they just pop off, and they're pretty heavy duty. Even the Bernettes are pretty heavy duty, just like the regular Bernitas. These are supposed to be made I think with the same internal metal parts like the Berninas. My understanding, it's the same internal system. All right, so once that's done, I'm gonna turn it a couple more times. And then I'm just gonna take a little cloth to try to pass underneath it to remove some of that excess oil, because you don't want that to, get on your fabric. So I'm just gonna pass it back and forth a couple times, and I'm gonna let this sit here for just a couple minutes to see if there's any oil that's gonna catch on here. So if you guys have any experience using the Bernette 79, please share with them in the comments with me. This machine actually, it does both sewing and it does embroidery as well. I don't really use the embroidered features as much anymore. I typically stick with my brother, the PRS 100. It's a pretty robust little machine. I have it over there in the corner, if you can kind of see it back over there. It's in plastic right now, but it's really has commercial capabilities. You still have to change out, the 4 individual thread pieces, on that one, as opposed to where it self changes. But there's a real quick mechanism where you tie the, chain of different color threads together and it feeds through so quickly. But for the cost, compared to some of those other industrial machines, it's just something I'd incorporate into sewing projects. When I first, got it, I did advertise, to customers and the public that I did offer, embroidery services, but it's pretty time consuming sometimes. And unless it's a part of like a sewing project, rarely do I just make things, to like sell that are embroidered anymore. But it is a very, very economical machine, and it's very, very heavy duty in my humble opinion. So anyway, without further ado, let's talk about what I'm working on next. Okay, so I've got all the oiling done. I've cleaned a little bit of oil. You can kind of see on that little circle here. It's kind of hard to see with probably the light, but the cloth did collect a little bit of oil. So it's good to check before you put your good fabric underneath. So I'm just gonna go ahead and test out the stitches before I put my fabric in, and I'm going to test with a piece of muslin because it's woven, since I'll be actually doing the lounge pants, which are also woven. All right, let's see. Back stitch and cut. This little machine does pretty much everything the Bernina does. I was in love with it before I got the Bernina machine, but the stitches actually look pretty good. So looks good in the bobbin side. Tension's good. This little machine even has a creative consultant. Let me show you that really quickly. The same as the regular Bernina. So I just go to creative consultant, for example. Here it is here. If I want to choose, this woven fabric, a mid-grade woven, close that out. Go back, mid-grade, let's see, yeah, stitch. Okay, so here, it tells me the needle that it's recommending, as well as the type of thread, just a regular poly cotton. So if I hit OK, the tension is set for me, the pressure foot pressure is set, just like the other Bernina machine. So, time to move on to the stitching of the pants for my next project. Alrighty, so what am I starting with to do my lounge pants? I have my sloper set here. That's the front sloper. And here is my back sloper. So for my slopers, basically, as I shared with you guys, I rarely buy commercial patterns anymore. I've been on the hunt. I went to Hobby Lobby yesterday since McCall's is on sale for 99 cents. But they had no catalog. There's no catalog. So basically you're searching through all of these drawers like a needle in a haystack. So I didn't really have time for that. So I was just going to look online to see what's cool, out there. Something that I may like, something my daughter may like, something my mom may like, for example. Or, something I just may do at some point in the future to try to keep. But I'm always on the hunt for a good jacket. So if there's any McCalls out there that are on sale for the 99 cents. You guys should go check it out and let me know in the comments if there's a cool jacket pattern for this fall that I should check out as well with that McCall's number. But anyway, from the sloper, I can actually create any pattern that I'd like. So again, I've had a few classes of pattern drafting, pretty much self-taught as well, but I've read tons of books. I've taken a few classes. I've had a couple professional courses as well that I've taken. And pretty much from the sloper, I can create whatever style that I want. So I can do a skinny leg pants, you know, I can do jeans, I can do traditional trousers, palazzo pants, you name it. But I will be using this front sloper and back sloper specifically for my lounge pants. So watch me as I put this together. Okay, so this is the same material that I used to make the little pocket on the tee on the other video from a couple days ago. This is the fabric that I'm actually using. It's a woven floral print to do the lounge pants. So I've got the sloper actually traced out. This is the front. I marked the notches where they're going to be. I added about 5/8 of an inch seam allowance to it. You know, of course, doing your mock-up, guys, it's always important to do your mock-up first, just to make sure you've got the right fit. But I've used this sloper quite a few times, so I'm pretty confident, you know, it should fit. So I've just traced out with my tailor's chalk the outline of it. And this is just how I, you know, make various garments without a commercial pattern. As long as I have my sloper, you know, I can make whatever I want. That's the beauty of drafting your own patterns. So, and how do you put it together, some may wonder? Well, I've done this so many times, you don't really need a commercial pattern for that. You know, there are different ways to put pants together, and that's really all you're doing with pajama pants or lounge pants. So I have this all cut out, and what I like to do is just go in and mark my knee seam. I put a little notch. I mark first, and then I make a little knot or slit with my scissors, not going through your seam allowance, and also at my hip line, so that everything lines up nice and neat with my back. So let's see what it fits like. All right, so here we are. I just do a little test fit. So this is just one leg here, right? So it calls for a dart. I'll probably just do elastic in the waist because it's just lounge pants. But you've got enough in the front here to go around the belly. That's important. And then from the side, you know, I probably could have gone another 1/4 of an inch, but I don't want them too terribly big. But it's going to meet the back here at my side seam. So if I had to recut, you know, I might just go ahead and add a 1/4 of an inch, but they should be nice and comfy. And I think I added about an inch of a hem there. So that's just how I, you know, make my, again, lounge pants or pajama pants, whatever you want to call it, without a commercial pattern. I just use my sloper and modify it. So I'm going to sew this up, guys. All right, so I have my 2 back pieces connected together here at the crotch seams. I have my cute little pocket detail I've put on here. And then I'm just going to lie my front pieces face together, face fabric to face fabric. And usually I just kind of pin along the side seams and the inseams just to do a quick fit and check to make sure the seam allowance is good. If I have to take it in a little extra or make it a little bigger, I can do it at this stage. All right, and voila. So this is my first fitting here of the first lounge pants or pajama pants that I've put together without a commercial pattern, just using a sloper and my measurement. So this is the long sleeve tee, and I did a full tutorial on the channel with that. I've got a little pocket here, and I've got the pants turned inside out, you know, for my fitting, with pins all around the side seams, all around the inseams as well, and I'm just holding the front together. I'm not going to utilize the darts on this pattern or the sloper just because, you know, it's lounge pants. I just want to be as comfortable as possible. So I'll probably just do elastic waist on this. But I think it's nice and fitted, comfortable, you know, I mean, loose enough, you know, for something to sleep in. get around for someone who'll be hobbling, you know, after hip replacement. So I think it's working. I think the sloper for my pajama pattern is great. If I wanted to make a permanent pattern out of this, I would basically just add the 5/8 of an inch seam allowance around my sloper and whatever length I want for the hem. Another thing to keep in mind is if I wanted to make this into like a pair of pajama shorts, you know, I would just cut it, you know, at the area that I'm comfortable with wearing it. But check out on the channel the video that I did over sewing the tee and putting this together from the bodice sloper as well. And I added the cute little pocket detail of how I did that too. So I'm gonna sew this up and share with you guys later in the week or beginning of next week, the final reveal. And I'll probably redo the pattern again in a couple other fabrics that I showed you on last Friday's sews, and some other things that I'll be making throughout the week as well with those fabrics. But I am definitely pleased with the outcome, and I think the fit is going to be fabulous. So those of that are new, please consider hitting that subscribe button, liking the video, commenting anything, you know, that you want to share with me or would like to see. This is Lara with House of Okocha Design. Have a great weekend, guys. Bye.